Well, hello, Chuck. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Tom. Just watching this market. Very entertaining here. This very strong market today, but can't seem to get back to the open of the month at 67.25.
Yeah, it's sort of an interesting. I was thinking about it. I was coming back from Orlando, went down to the Money Show, and walked the floor, and and it seemed like that I was looking for some, what I would call some breaking electronics or whatever, but I didn't see it, and I was talking to several people. Talked to Jeffrey Hurst, the guy that writes the Stock Traders Almanac, and we were talking about the market and everything. And but I think that if you focus in on the last few days, it has been a whipsaw type week, and my guess is that ultimately it'll come out to the upside. But the question is, how much does it go to the downside first? And the 67.25 is really a sneeze away. But I think until you get back above, maybe the 6,800, we won't actually run. It'd be some up and down there. But I was thinking about this stuff about gold last night. Gold
Well, hey, Tom, but before we get into
surged
that,
all day yesterday, and then into the night, and then it started selling off this morning, and that's typical for no gold. But I'm looking for gold to go a lot higher, obviously. But last night was fun because I had some positions on, and Chuck, it's like having those kind of positions on are pretty neat because they're changing as I was going down the highway. And
yeah. So before we get too far into the market, we do have to say there is a very high degree of risk involved in trading. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and the risk disclaimer is on the slide. So let's go ahead to the next slide. I think that's when we get to your opinion. There we go. Now let's talk about that gold and silver, and they have been on fire, coming back a little bit today, but they have had an incredible week.
yeah, but what I was going to make a point, I actually talked to a guy down there that in gold and silver, and he was talking about, he was talking about all the standard stuff, how central banks are buying, how more and more people are starting to put it into their IRAs and their investment accounts. Um, Basically, what he was basically saying, the demand side of it's pretty strong, and I sort of agreed with it when I was listening to him. But you know, we are very fortunate. We can do options on gold. We can do all kinds of variations on gold. But that GLD, boy, getting long it from Sunday night forward has been a heck of a trade, Chucky, as you pointed out several times about GLD. Pretty cool. Even though it's pulled back, it's pulled back 2%, Chuck, but it's still at 388 when we're getting long at 374.
Yeah, definitely. Very
I think
strong.
What Marge just said, that if everybody traded the three step I'm teaching over in futures, uh, they'd be a lot happier. She just made, I think let me check it real quick. She said, let me read it. I continue to learn and improve my confidence and knowledge via my training. Today, using your Genesis observation of session lows and using futures, I made money on a quick trade. I just added another year to the Futures First subscription. Smart, Monica, smart. Uh, Lynn says she bought gold in 2012 at 1,200. All right, where you go, Lynn? It's like me and that silver. I bought all that silver. Chuck, you remember when I used to order silver and it'd come into the office? And that was between 2009 and 2014. And those silver maple leaf coins. But
Yeah, I was about to say one of your favorite gifts to give out for the holidays were silver coins, the extra ones. You kept the good ones for yourself.
yeah, but I mean, I just look back on that and think, boy, that was fun. Now you look at the price of silver, over 50. But crude oil's continued down, and we made a little money this week in that. But looking at the market, you got to just have a process, and our process is pretty straightforward. And I think adding the T-Buzz 3-step that I've done, people go home now. Tell me, how many people think the T-Buzz 3-step simplified the world of futures for you? I'm just going to ask that question. The T-Buzz 3-step, you do it at 9 o'clock at night. How many people like that setup and can recognize it now with the training? Love it, love it, love it. Can't get enough of it. Yeah, once we do this trade for a while, I got more I want to show you, but it's so fun now to have people dialed into things I've been doing all these years. So thought it was good. Yep, the 3-step. My opinion is it's going to get better and better. And based on what I saw down in Orlando, you're at the right spot. This is where you need to be. We got it going on. And I will tell you that, if you like educating yourself, you like growing your account and being part of the market, I think that we're the place. That's my opinion. The newsletter comes out Monday, and of course, we always like to mention it because we have new people joining us all the time. This is a newsletter identifying and focusing on the week at hand. Monday, we'll do it after Monday's trading. We'll lay out the stocks. We'll lay out everything I believe that sets up the week after Monday's close. Nice to have a piece of paper with those kind of directions. All right, here's the October stocks. John, why don't you this is like doing a physical on the stocks. Let's do a physical on the stocks, see what's hot and what's not. Take it away.
Okay, let's see. Tom, I added 3 columns earlier today, and
Okay.
I added a column for the high from October 10th, the low from October 10th, and the midpoint from October 10th. Kind of an interesting study we did earlier today.
Yep.
You might be interested in having that on there. At least we'll have it for the rest of this month and then take it off.
Okay. And tell everybody the background of this study.
Yeah, sure. So the first column you see is the month open, and everything we do at DTI starts with the month open. That's one of Tom's, if you had to narrow down to 5 rules that Tom follows and teaches, follow the month open will be one of them. So that's that. 67.25 is on the S&P. We've seen the importance of that all month long and all week long. Then you have columns for the FTD high and FTD low. FTD stands for the first 3 days, and that's the first 3 trade days of the month. For October, 6,800 was the high on the S&P, and 66.80 was the low. If you're at Train and Trade this morning, you saw us mark 66.80, and which was the low from the first 3 days as an important number, and 66.45, which was Tom's pivot. And for much of the day, at least during the cash market, the S&P just traded up to 80, traded back down to 45, traded up to 80, and it finally broke out at 80, which we told you that if it could do that at some point today, then it increased the odds of prices going higher. They went up to 67.17. Couldn't quite make it back up to the month open, at least not yet, but certainly a positive sign. And again, you combine Tom's pivot, which he gives you every single day, with this other education that we kind of try to hammer home really every day, because we look at it every day in train and trade, which we do every day. So combine all that and it should help you stay on the right side of the market, or at least eliminate one of long, short, or out, which is something Tom goes back to over and over again. If you can eliminate one of long, short, or out, maybe you can eliminate short, you're going to increase your odds. Or maybe you can eliminate out. If the market's really moving, you can eliminate out because there's opportunity one side or the other. But that's the story with this. At the far right, you get columns for above FTD high or below FTD low. And that will tell you what stocks are doing well for the month or what stocks are doing poorly for the month. This right here is crude oil. Then, which is short. Then you have gold and silver, which are long. Bonds are long. So this is a great sheet. You can get it inside the roadmap under the feature labeled Trade Tracker under Tables. All right, but for now, let's move on. But that spreadsheet is on slide 4 or 5 of today's slide deck, which I'll post again, and we'll move on down the road here. Great resource for you, though.
And I hope everybody sees the value of those numbers, because they will make you money if you follow the tickers and the numbers. Monday through Friday, we do train and trade, 11 a.m. That's what we do. Next week's education, here it goes. Here's the subject. My 5-step process to master options trade. I want to review this. I've done it in the past, but I want to review it come Monday, because next week is going to be real important for you to know the steps to go through. On Tuesday, I said how to protect your account when the VIX futures is above 20. If you look at the VIX futures right now, I'll just give it to you. VIX futures right now is at 2140. Keep your eye on that pivotal area of 20. Wednesday will technology. Right now, this is one thing I got from the Money Show down there about how everyone is into the technology and the AI and how they continue to lead. But there's some new market leadership emerging. We'll talk about that next Wednesday, okay? New leadership is coming out of other sectors. You just got to know those sectors to find it, and we want to cover that on Wednesday. Thursday, I said, why is gold? And here I'm going to give you some bullet points to watch as we go forward on gold. That'll be on Thursday. On Friday, I say, why silver? We will go through the 5 reasons you have to be aware of if you invest in silver. We'll do that on Friday to October 26th. So end of week of next week, we're going to spend a little time talking about gold and silver. Another way of saying what we're going to do. All right, 5 things to watch next week. Next week, we'll start, I think, what's the day? 17th, be on the 20th. The CPI release and inflation uncertainty, but however, keep this in mind. Once they declare a truce on this government, okay, then the Treasury will have to step up to make the necessary payments to the people that deserve it. CPI, PPI delayed, housing data. Jeff, you know which, if any of the housing data might appear with the government shutdown, or are we sort of frozen out right now?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much frozen out, but this is tentative. This is pretty much all tentative here. Same goes for the economic news slide we have in just a moment.
Okay.
But we do have earnings next week, and Netflix is on Tuesday after the close, and Tesla, I believe, is on Wednesday after the close. So earnings are definitely picking up and will happen next week. Of course, the volatility spike in the VIX, that's kind of top of mind too, considering what the market's done over the past week. So that's on deck for next week. Should be between trade and trade topics of education plus what the market's doing. Next week's going to be very interesting. There's your news for next week. Again, tentative. Economic or investing.com, Tom had the CPI report set for Friday the 24th. That's all tentative. When new home sales on Friday as well.
Well, I think what's going to be interesting once the government does come back open is the way they set getting caught up, because these reports just keep coming. It's not like one comes and it's over. They keep coming throughout the day, and we got to deal with the ones that should have been reported up to this point at some point. And I think it's going to be pretty quick.
All right, here's the schedule next week. So we got trend and trade every day at 11. Tuesday is connect the dots at 10:45. We'll see how the schedule unfolds. We might do an SBS session on Tuesday or Thursday or both, morning or afternoon. And then, of course, on Friday, we'll have a retirement session in the afternoon and a weekly wrap up. Any questions on this schedule before we move on? What's not listed, of course, is Sunday night at 8 p.m. We should probably list that on here. Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time is a very important session, free session you can tune into, called the Sunday night planning session.
Yeah, and Monday, I'll be doing the T-Buzz 3-step at 9 again on Monday night.
And that's part of the Futures Plus education program.
Right. I want to hammer that, make sure everybody's a member of my Futures First can do that trade. Okay.
Sounds good to me. Had a lot of students that have had good success with that this week, so let's definitely keep doing that.
Yeah, we definitely want to keep doing that. Got to go where they're paying. Okay.
I just want to get the planning added. 8 p.m. Sunday planning. Hey, Tom, earlier today we mentioned that you had a Weekend Profits Club trade that's going to be released. It has been released already.
It's in there, right? The Weekend Profits Club's been published.
It's out. You and I, you called me up an hour or two ago and said, let's get the trade going. So we did, and it's already active, and it'll be there for you if you decide to join this afternoon. You can go to DTI.
Yeah, the reason I like this strategy, it typically goes out on a Friday afternoon, and sometimes we get filled on the same day, but most likely it's out to 3 days. But it's a great strategy. Not a lot of money that you have. What was the day's number, the entry number?
$1.
Oh, that's a good one. $1. Okay, that's great. That's super. I think we're in good position there. We'll see how it ends up, and then plus tomorrow. But trade setting there if you want to get joined and come for the Weekend Profits Club. This trade is one of my what I call my prime type trades. We really focus on it because it's so good. We don't let the strategy dissipate because we're seeing some other shiny object somewhere else. But Weekend Profits Club, trades out there. If you want to join and deviate and go see how the links are there. It's pretty simple, and just way it goes.
Yeah, I was telling folks earlier that I quickly looked back, and 9 of the past 10 trades were winners, and everything ever since. The neat thing about working with you, Tom, is you're always studying the markets, and we have to change things. We have to change things about strategies and whatnot due to the current market conditions. You did that with the Weekend Profits Club, and ever since then, the results have been just phenomenal. So thank you.
Yeah, and see, the market does change on you a little bit depending on the season of the year. And I have to be particularly focused when we see those changes and don't sit there doing the same old thing just because it's easy, okay? Anyway, that's the thought process. But Carol says you want to supplement what you're doing, be a member of the Weekend Profits Club. Pretty simple. Execute, put the sell in, and wait for it to click.
Yep. And let me give you an idea of what Tom went through this week. Tom, you had a weekend of study, and then you did your Sunday planning. Monday and Tuesday, we had a small class in Jacksonville that Chuck and I joined you with. That was a lot of fun. Wednesday, Tom was on his own for training trade, but I hear it was a really good session that you held Wednesday. And then Thursday, you had a one-on-one with one of our students, I believe, right?
Right. Yeah. Rob Jeffers from Raleigh, North Carolina came down, spent a day with me. He's coming back again. He said, here was what he said. I don't know if he's here right now, but he said he tried to back out. He didn't want to come. And I said, look, Rob, I watched your questions in the chat room. You really need to get down here. He got down here. He said, oh, I'm going to get me a route like Carol. In other words, he'll be a permanent member of that subscription, which is the one-on-one. But it's pretty good. We had a fun day. We played at the market both ways. I taught him some trades that along with the T-Buzz 3-step, I showed him some of the future things that are coming in our training. And he said, I never traded futures like that. I said, well, you're sitting here with me, we might as well do it. And we did it. And we had a great day. We had a gold trade. We had a crude oil trade. We had trying to think what else we had. We just had a lot of good trades that went off. And then had an E-mini trade with options. It was great. All right, so why don't we, Jonathan? I think people need to see the full show with the Weekend Profits Club, and why don't y'all play that and we end on that, and I'll see everybody Sunday night now. Sunday night. There's Robbie said it was a fabulous day. Paid for the trip and then some. Learned a lot. Platforms, all that. We did the whole thing. Fabulous day. Thank you, Rob. All right, why don't I let you play the tape, and I'll listen to it. We'll see if we can't get some new members to the Weekend Profits Club. It's not named just by happenstance, it's because it deserves the title.